Heading into the Christmas period can be a very stressful time, and if you have already been struggling throughout the year, it can really get you down. So today we are going to talk about feeling unhappy and the one thing that you can do to really change that. And not just over the Christmas period, but in general for the rest of your life. Hey, I'm Kristy Davis. Welcome to the Self-Improvement Room. This is episode number 56. And we are getting very close to the end of the year, which just comes along so very quickly. In today's episode, we are talking about happiness, or rather being unhappy. And I want to give you some tools, but not only some tools, probably the biggest understanding or takeaway that I've had in my own personal growth journey when it comes to trying to be happy. Now, I really believe that this is one of the main or the key aspects of being happy that a lot of us really miss. And I think that it can change your whole world. It will give you a whole new life. So let's dive in and talk about what this key finding, this key thing is. All right. Every word you say, I'm going to start with this because this is so crucial and I see it over and over again. And it doesn't matter how old you are. I see it in all ages. So every word you say to yourself matters. How often do you tell yourself that you're not good at something, or you're not smart enough, or you're not capable of handling something? These thoughts aren't just passive or throwaway comments. They are really powerful messages that really shape how you see yourself in the world and how you see the world around you. We don't realize this, but when you have one of those thoughts, your whole body hears. Your brain hears it and your whole body hears it. And that is who you become. And you might have heard that thoughts shape your life, but I really don't believe people understand just how much they actually shape your life. They shape every part of your life. They really do. When you are giving yourself these little pep talks, and I'm using inverted commas here because they are not very good pep talks, but you are creating a program. It's like a tape, if you're old like me. It's like a tape that is on repeat, and that influences your emotions, your decisions, your behaviors, your moods, your attitudes. The program that you're creating is not harmless. Negative self-talk is not harmless. It destroys self-worth and self-love. And you might be thinking that, well, neither of those things are very important. But I can tell you, without self-love and without self-worth, you're very likely to have poor emotional intelligence. You are very likely to always feel like you are never enough. And you're going to find that life isn't as pleasant as it could be if you learned to love who you are and to have high self-worth. So remember, this program that you're creating, this negative self-talk, it has a ripple effect that touches every part of your life. Relationships, family, work, every part of your life. And it keeps you stuck in a cycle of self-doubt, and it impacts your confidence, and it really does limit your potential. I know this because I spent half of my life, maybe more, talking to myself pretty poorly. And I didn't even realize. It's just so habitual. The good news is, though, you can change that. You can change the tape. You can change the program. So in this episode, I want to talk about how you can do that. I want to talk about how you create your life and how powerful negative thoughts are. And most importantly, how to replace them with healthier, kinder thoughts, a healthier narrative overall. All right. As I said, the way you talk to yourself doesn't just reflect your mindset, it actively shapes your life. So let's break down how this works. Firstly, thoughts influence your emotions. So what you think affects how you feel. And this is why things like rumination are really bad for us, because our body cannot tell the difference between a thought and what is happening in your life in that moment. So if you went down the supermarket and somebody was rude to you and you just keep thinking about it all day, you are living in that emotional space that you were living in when it actually happened. So your brain can't tell the difference. So all day long, you are living in this repeated cycle of abuse that you experienced at the shopping center earlier that day. So if you are constantly thinking about what is going wrong in your life, or you're constantly telling yourself that you're not good enough, or you'll feel anxious or insecure, or you feel defeated, that influences your emotions. Now, positive thoughts, on the other hand, create feelings of confidence and calm. And again, that influences those emotions. And emotions drive actions. And this is why emotional regulation is so incredibly important. I guarantee there are many, many people either in trouble with the law, maybe in jail, in trouble at school, in trouble at work, because emotions drive actions. Now, if your feelings determine your emotions and your emotions then drive your actions, that means your thought is creating how you behave. Now, without practice, we don't have a great deal of control over our emotions. And that is where the danger comes in. That's where being emotionally regulated really pays off in life. Now, if you feel unworthy, you're less likely to set boundaries in life, to pursue your goals, to be motivated, because those emotions that come up when we think of unworthiness, they don't drive us or motivate us to change anything in our lives. But if you feel confident and capable, then your approach changes. You can live life with the approach of determination and resilience. Challenges are good. Negative side of things, challenges are bad, so we don't go there. So your emotions drive your actions. Now, actions over the course of time create your life. So the choices that you make, big and small, add up. And that's what your life is. They are choices and actions made on a daily basis. So they add up to create your life. Now, when your inner dialogue supports you and makes decisions that align with your values and your dreams and your goals, you will create the life that you want. But when it tears you down, it's going to hold you back. So very simply, your thoughts, they are the initial starting point for your life. They set the tone for your entire life. Now, when you speak to yourself kindly and positively and compassionately, you create a life filled with opportunities and healthy relationships and personal growth. But when you are stuck in negativity, you create a cycle of sabotage. I've seen it in my own life. In fact, that's why I had my meltdown 10 years ago. I'm like, why do I keep sabotaging my life? Why do I keep ruining everything? And it just turned out that it was these repeated programs, these repeated patterns. And I see people around me all of the time doing the same thing. But it's really hard to change something if you don't know about it. So if you're listening to the podcast today, you now know about it. And step 1 is to really start listening to your thoughts. So how do negative thoughts hijack your life? The science tells us that we have an average of 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And shockingly, studies suggest that about 80% of those thoughts are negative for many people. And most of them are repetitive. So it's like we just chuck on that tape, we press play, jump in the back of the car, out of the driver's seat, and we just live the same life every day. Get up, do the same things, go to bed, wake up, do the same things, go to bed, and you've got this life that is this repetitive cycle. Now, why is negativity so pervasive? That one surprised me. The answer actually lies in our brain's negativity bias, which is like a survival mechanism that makes us focus more on threats and problems rather than our positive experiences. So this bias helped our ancestors stay alive. So it kind of kept them on high alert in that fight, flight, freeze kind of position. And that's how we were created, which was very adaptive back then. But putting that into our lives now, it's quite maladaptive. It doesn't work for us. So what once helped our ancestors stay alive is now destroying our mental health, because in modern life, negative thoughts we often feel are louder and more persistent. Research actually even shows that it takes 3 positive thoughts to counteract 1 negative thought. That's a lot of positive thoughts to make up for all of the negative ones. So that's a 3-to-1 ratio. And I've even seen other research say that it's as high as 5-to-1. That is why it is so easy to get stuck in a bad mood just after just a few critical or self-defeating thoughts. Very, very easy to create that negative cycle. Much harder to create the positive one. Thank you to our ancestors. Now let's have a look at the ripple effect of negative self-talk. It doesn't take many negative thoughts to spiral into a bad mood. Just 1 or 2 negative thoughts can trigger a cascade of emotions, leaving you feeling angry, anxious, and probably overwhelmed. Now, over time, this constant negativity starts to really chip away at your confidence, and it makes you second guess your work. It makes you second guess your relationships, and it can even cause you to avoid pursuing opportunities. Negative self-talk acts like a bully inside of your mind. It whispers, or if you're like I was, shouts at you that you're not enough. And here's the most ridiculous thing. When we believe those thoughts, which we do because they're our thoughts, we act in ways to confirm them. We do not have to believe our thoughts. Just because they're ours doesn't make them true. So let's look at an example. If you think, man, I'm terrible at relationships, then you might avoid opening up to your partner, creating distance that reinforces that belief. Because you want to feel congruent. You want to know that you are acting in the way that you think and feel. Otherwise, if you're acting against that, it will feel odd for you. So you will go out of your way. If you believe something about yourself, you will go out of your way to prove that that is true, so you feel congruent. Another example is, I'm not good at my job. If you think that, you might avoid taking on challenges. And then you limit growth and success. So negative thoughts don't just stay in your head as much as we kind of think they do. They actually show up in your actions, and they create this self-fulfilling prophecy, this self-fulfilling cycle. So how can we kill that? A lot of people are really against this kind of positive self-talk, positive psychology. I don't like toxic positivity. I don't think that we should always be positive no matter what is going on. I don't agree with that. But I do think we need to look at the positive side of things. And when we are talking to ourselves, I really believe it needs to be positive. So when we flip that script, when you start feeding your mind with positive, empowering thoughts, your whole energy changes. And here's why. The thoughts that you think influence the actions you take. So you think something, you have a thought that makes you feel a certain way, and then from there you take action. Now, if you believe you're capable and you take on challenges with more confidence, then your life starts to change. If you tell yourself you're worthy, you'll set boundaries and you'll demand respect. That one takes a little bit of practice, but you get there. And if you focus on gratitude and growth, then you will see more opportunities than solutions. It's just the way it works. Positive thoughts are definitely not as loud as negative thoughts. But when you practice them consistently, they start to create a very powerful ripple effect. And that makes you keep practicing. And eventually, that turns into habit. And that shapes our mood, which shapes our behavior and eventually our life. So here's an example. Imagine telling yourself, I am learning and growing every day. That thought inspires you to try new things, build new skills, and celebrate progress. And that leads to a more fulfilling and more successful life. When you break it down, it's not too difficult. It's just that we don't break it down and we don't realize we're doing it because it's a habit. So let's look at some strategies on how to overcome negative self-talk. Because breaking free from negative self-talk, I'm going to tell you, it takes work. It's not that easy. But it is, I believe, one of the most important things that you can do for your mental health, for your emotional well-being, and for your future. If you're a parent, for your children, if you go to work, for your colleagues, if you have friends, for your friends. It's incredibly important because the ripple effect will change your life. So here are 4 strategies to help you reprogram your inner voice. Number 1 is being aware. We have to be self-aware. Build the awareness so you can interrupt the cycle. You can't change something if you don't notice it. If you don't know what's happening, you cannot change it. So you need to start by paying attention to your thoughts. Not every single thought, I know, we've got too many, but the loud ones. When you catch yourself thinking negatively, pause and acknowledge it. Then reframe that thought. So reframing is about replacing those harmful statements with kinder, more constructive ones. So instead of saying, man, I'm terrible at this, just say, I'm improving every day. Instead of, I'll never succeed, try, success takes time and I'm on my way. It doesn't have to go from, I'll never succeed or I'm terrible at this to I'm the most amazing person on the planet. I get it. You're not going to believe that if you say that. So it's just an incremental change. And once you get used to that, you can start to turn the dial up on the kindness level. Eventually, you will replace 95% of your negative thoughts and you'll have 95% different life. I talk about this one a lot, and there's a lot of research behind practicing gratitude. And some of the new research is looking at gratitude in a bit of a different way. So let's just look at both ways. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for shifting your mindset. There is a vast amount of research to back that. So if you look up gratitude, you will see that there has been a lot of research done to understand gratitude and how it is helpful and impactful. When you focus on what you're thankful for, it becomes harder for negativity to take hold. So you can start a simple gratitude practice by writing down 3 things that you're grateful for. Sometimes they can just really be small. They don't have to be huge. But what I'm going to tell you is writing them down doesn't mean anything if you don't actually feel the feelings associated with them. So I can write down, I am so grateful for my new bed. If I just write that down and I'm not thinking about how truly grateful I am because it's nice and comfortable and that I've got a bed, then it's not going to work. Now, research is actually showing that gratitude in its most powerful form comes from when you see someone else receiving gratitude. So if you've ever watched like YouTube videos of, say, I think I saw one a few months ago of The Rock giving away a house to somebody who is far, far less fortunate than him. And this person, this guy, just cried and cried because he was so grateful for what he had received. And then I found myself bawling. I was just crying like a baby. And in that moment, I felt extreme gratitude. I was incredibly overwhelmed by the generosity and how happy and grateful the person receiving the house was. And research is now showing that that is the strongest form of gratitude. So if you consistently watch different videos like that, where you see people receiving gratitude, that can be one of the most effective things you can do. And number 4, visualization and affirmations. I do this every single day in my meditating. I visualize the life that I want. Now, there's a lot of research behind this to suggest that this is the way you create your life. It used to be just a spiritual thing that, you put it out to the universe and it will create it for you. People kind of see that as very magical, so they don't listen. But if you dig deep enough, you will see that there is now science to back this. There is science to show that frequencies and vibrations and visualization and feelings all manifest the future that you want. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because there is research to back it. So each morning, take a moment to visualize yourself being the person you want to be. Confident, capable, calm. Calm's a big one. I have to practice that. In fact, I do more than meditate on that. I have to practice that in the mirror. I'm like, no, that's totally fine. No, that's not going to work. Yep, no worries at all. Instead of wanting to scream the house down or really tell somebody what I'm thinking, it's really about visualizing the type of person that you want to be. You can use affirmations like, I am worthy. But again, you can't just say this stuff. You have to feel it. You have to feel like, I am worthy. I am enough. Say it, say it, say it. The more you say it, the more you will feel it. I'm capable of handling anything that comes my way. You probably won't believe it to begin with, but if you spend enough time doing this and creating this habit, that will change for you. And then you really will be able to start to feel the difference. And you'll start to see the difference in your life because it really does change your life. All right. Lastly, I want to talk about the lasting impact that rewriting your inner script has, because that's what this episode really is targeting. It's targeting rewriting your inner script. Imagine waking up every day feeling like your biggest supporter instead of your harshest critic. And people say, it doesn't bother me. Let me tell you something. If you're a parent, you don't want your kid feeling like this in the morning. You don't want them waking up being their harshest critic. You want them waking up being their own biggest supporter. So why would you want anything less for yourself? Imagine the freedom of stepping into relationships, challenges, and opportunities with confidence and self-respect, with self-love and self-worth. The power of positive talk is so incredible that it will change your entire life. When you choose to reprogram your inner voice, you create a foundation of self-love and self-worth that ripples out into every area of your life. I know this because I've done it, and I've spent a real lot of time around people who have done the same thing. This works, but the reason most people don't do it is because it takes work. Now for me, the pain got so bad of living the way I used to that the pain of doing this every day was a lot less than the pain of living the life that I was living. I committed to this because I was like, I can't spend another day being this way. I've got shit to do and I need to get it done, and this is not working for me. So I committed to doing a little bit every single day. And I look over the last decade, because I just turned 40, and I achieved more in the last decade than I did in my whole first 30 years. Like, way more. In fact, everything that I have achieved. So signing record deals, being on television, having 9 film clips, 3 albums, building a music school, winning an Australian Business Award, winning 2 songwriting awards, winning Australia Performer of the Year, being on television, being on radio, traveling around the world. Those things only happened in the last 10 years that I changed this. Now, I'm going to go with that's not really coincidental because I know for sure that I was not achieving those things the way I was before I started this journey. Now, it takes a little bit of time, but if you commit to this, you will start seeing changes quite quickly. You'll notice improvements in your relationships, you'll notice improvements at work, and you'll just start to feel an overall sense of peace and happiness. Negative thoughts feel powerful because they are, but that doesn't mean that they are good. Negative thoughts don't define you. Unfortunately, we get used to having those negative thoughts that we like to have them. You know, we get so used to it, so used to that feeling, that if the feeling isn't there, we don't feel right. But that just means it's time to step out of that comfort zone and try something new. With self-awareness, intention, and practice, you can absolutely shift the narrative in your life. You can build a life full of kindness, compassion, happiness, and empowerment. But you have to do it with your thoughts. And it might be one thought at a time. It might be that slow. But you've got the rest of your life to live. So I suggest you start practicing this today. And then remember, you've got to do it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And then you'll start to look back and you'll see the changes. sometimes you'll forget to look back. And eventually when you do look back, you will be so incredibly stunned at the amazing life you have just created. All right, that was a lot of fun. I love this stuff. I really hope this episode helped you understand how negative thoughts can really destroy your life and your future. So until next time, stay safe and stay well.